After all, its history has been steeped in the Pacific sunshine for over 40 years. And while enthusiasts of those days of yesteryear propagate their places in time while traveling America's back roads and gathering in small consortiums all season long, once a year, for the last 4 years, all roads have led west to Hot Rod Mecca in Bakersfield. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of NHRA Today. You know, the California Hot Rod Reunion is a lot like your high school class reunion. Old friends getting together to discuss and reminisce about the good old days. One big difference here, though, a lot of your friends bring the good old days with them. There are hundreds of nostalgia drag racing vehicles and street rods all over Bakersfield Raceway. Let's start finding them. If you took a trip back in time to 1955, the Glass Slipper was one of the most unusual cars of the day.
We came out with a finished car, a painted car, a bodied car, more or less a streamlined type of a car that no one else really had at that time. We were different, I guess, and not only were we different, apparently we were good enough to run as good as the best cars ran at that time. We set records, international records in the standing kilometer. We were able to win the most beautiful roadster award at the Oakland Roadster Show, which is a coveted award. It was the first competition car to do that.
One of the highlights to this year's reunion was the restoration of the early 60s Fiat, campaigned by the team of Radican, Jackson, and Stearns.
This car probably is one of the most famous Fiats that has ever run. We won the Nationals in Detroit in 1960. We won the Nationals in Indianapolis in 1961. We won the World Series of drag racing, both 1960 and 61. And in every strip that we had ever appeared at, we had set a record for this class, for this car.
It was a ground-up restoration, but it was 95% there. It was the original car. The original chassis, body, front end, rear end. All we had to do was update the roll cage for NHRA.
It's great to be back and to be with the original crew. And we all went to high school together, and we've all been best of friends all these years. It's just great.
Another Aldred made it to this year's reunion for the first time, called Nanook. This car has been lovingly restored by Gino De Bartoli, who saw it race when he was 10 years old.
It was originally campaigned by Dave Huff and Charlie Brent and Ed Donovan back in, started about 1969. It's the second Nanook car, this one, and it wore 3 different paint jobs. They ran it up to, I think, around 73 or maybe 74, and they built a third Nanook.
This Aldred from the 60s, called Pure Heaven, traveled the U.S. match racing. But at this year's reunion, Pure Heaven went to the line for the last time, as it will soon be in a museum.
After the race this weekend, the car is going to go to the Peterson Automotive Museum, where it's been the rest of its life, I imagine.
Ironically, Pure Heaven's last run was its all-time best. Don't go away, because still to come are drag racing's wild wheel-standing exhibitionists, junior fuel racing highlights, and if you think it's just racing in Bakersfield, hey, think again. It's time to party when we return.
NHRA Today is brought to you by Mopar, Chrysler Corporation Parts, and the Chrysler Plymouth, Dodge, Jeep, and Eagle dealers who sell and install them.
To sunny California and Hot Rod Reunion 4. You know, everyone wants their shot at taking a vintage dragster for a spin down the quarter, but not everyone makes it to the big racing show. But even if you don't get to do any driving, you can always be part of the reminiscing going on at the track and away from it. On Friday night, before all the official action began at Famoso Raceway, Hot Rodders got together for an evening of socializing at the Red Lion Inn in Bakersfield. It was an indoor-outdoor affair that started with people gathering in the parking lots, already showing off their vintage roadsters to fellow reunion goers. And make no mistake, these four-wheelers are the real thing. Gradually, the party moved inside to the hotel lobby, where old friendships were renewed and old stories revisited. And eventually, the partygoers wound up down the hall at the main reception, which was teeming with drag racing enthusiasts and memorabilia.
It's gotten bigger, and we hope better. We hope everybody's having a good time, and they keep coming back, so they must be.
Some of NHRA's most recognizable faces were on hand, including founder Wally Parks, who was also there reliving some of the memories that he helped create. It was a time to exchange phone numbers and information, as well as a chance to view some spectacular racing art. Or how about a look at some pretty junior fuelers? With as much attention to detail as their full-size subjects, you'll see that these scale models could pass for the real thing, in their own little world, of course. But for most, Coming to the Hot Rod Reunion is more than just attending a drag race.
I feel that the heritage here at Bakersfield is so strong that it brings us all back. And with my family here and the racetrack here and the Hot Rod Reunion doing what it's doing and seeing all these wonderful people here, a lot of them I haven't seen for years, it's just great to be back here again.
At the party, people got a jump on registering for the weekend's event. But even if they were too busy socializing to check in, they could carry on conversations the next day trackside as they picked up their packets from the old safety safari wagon and trailer. After that, it was time to find your way around and check out some of the nostalgic cars on display, like Wally Park's recreated Plymouth Savoy, Suddenly 2. There was even a chance for future Dry Lakes racers to fantasize about driving some of the fastest cars on Earth. If you're thinking about restoring that old beauty that's tucked away in the back of your garage, then a trip to the Reunion Swap Meet is in order. It could be the place that you find the long sought-after part to complete your own nostalgic dream machine. Hot rod enthusiasts not only had a chance to show off their restoration and driving skills, they got a chance to prove that drag racing is definitely a real thinking person's game. Well, at least it is at the Reunion Trivia Contest. Welcome back to NHRA Today and part 1 of our special coverage of California Hot Rod Reunion 4. So far, we've shown you some of the unique social activities of the reunion. Now it's time for racing. The Good Guys Vintage Drag Racing Association features one of the most exciting classes in nostalgia drag racing. They may not be as big and bad as their Top Fuel counterparts, but let me tell you, you'd better keep your mitts up if you want to duke it out with a feisty junior fueler. Dave McClellan takes a closer look.
Another of the featured eliminator categories here at the 4th Annual California Hot Rod Reunion is Junior Fuel, and that is one of my favorites for sure. The interesting thing here is there is a maximum engine displacement of 410 cubic inches. You can use any engine you want. This is an early model Hemi, most popular many, many years ago. This class has got a lot of Chevrolets in it, but you were looking at the power plant for the #1 qualifier here this weekend. The name Adams ring a bell to you? Adams and Enriquez? That's right, Gene Adams is the tuner on this car, and Ron Pratt is the driver. He is the top qualifier in Junior Fuel. Pratt beat out a field of 19 junior fuelers to take the #1 spot with a 754 at more than 178 miles an hour. In the first round, Pratt met up with San Mateo, California's Bob Anderson, who had qualified in the #5 spot. Now, as you might note, NHRA starter Rick Stewart drove for Adams during the 1960s. And when Rick did his job, Adams' new driver Pratt did his and got away first. He needed every bit of the advantage as his race car slowed at the top end and crossed the finish line just ahead of a much quicker and faster Anderson. 785 winning time to a losing 774. The next pair up featured #3 qualifier Ken Bates and lucky #7 Mike Brown. Bates, who hails from Simi Valley, California, was the favorite, but at the green, New Mexico resident Brown cut a spectacular light and led Bates down track, tripping the win light to take the upset win 766 to Bates 781. The third pair found #2 qualifier and last year's winner Bob McRae racing #6 qualifier Mike Crispin. When the tree went green, Crispin's Hustler 3 got away first, but the power of the McRae engine roared and Bob moved by the Chevy-powered machine to march into the next round. The last pair of the first round saw #8 man Dale Toros from Long Beach, California, meet up with the #4 man Charlie Smith all the way from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. When Smith lit the bottom bulb of the stage lights, his car moved forward again and rolled out of the staging beams, causing the red light to come on in his lane. The semifinals featured some of the closest racing of the event. After fixing the problem from the slowing run in the first round, Ron Pratt and Gene Adams were back to take on the surprising Mike Brown. At the green, Brown again produced a superlative hole shot and forced Pratt to steam down track. Adams' manufactured horsepower from an early model style Chrysler Hemi pushed his driver past to take a narrow win, 762 to Brown's valiant 776.
Welcome back to NHRA Today and our special coverage of California Hot Rod Reunion 4. The popularity of nostalgia drag racing has grown incredibly since the inaugural Hot Rod Reunion in 1992. In fact, the 1995 Nostalgia race boasted the largest turnout in its 4-year history. But equally as popular are the exhibition cars. Regular crowd pleasers on the NHRA National Circuit, each one of these unique beauties took a pass at showing off for the California crowd, like Ernie the Farmer Beswick's Tameless Tiger. Wheel standing machines like Bob Riggle's Hearst Semi-Under Glass and George Tour's 55 Chevy Nomad sparked quite a reaction from onlookers as they lit up the quarter mile while snubbing gravity with their noses high in the air. Not all the exhibition rods required see-through floorboards to navigate the blacktop, but maybe a booster seat would be in order to see over the twin small block Chevys that powered John Peters' restored freight train. This machine blew away its competition in top gas at the '63 Winter Nationals, and even today, it's so powerful, it blew its own wheels off, literally. And you don't have to ask any mermaid you happen to see about the show NHRA Today's Dave McClellan put on in his restored tuna tank Fiat. After recent front-end suspension modifications by Roger Lamb, Dave's aquatic speedster sailed across the finish line with an 8:99, the fastest time ever run in the tuna tank. And now, besides all the showing off on the track, there were also a lot of car owners showing off their classic hot rods in the pits. However, the only prize there was bragging rights.
I don't know, it's just a nice Chevy, 350 turbo with a 350 motor, target motor, and it's just real dependable. And other than that, it's just a great car.
It's been running for 17 years to car shows all over California, as far as I know. I don't think the car's ever broke down. The other cars run hot, and California weather and everything, this Ford engine just keeps going.
I bought it about, probably close to 7 years ago, and me and a friend of mine rebuilt it completely, and we built it to drive. It has a sign on the windshield over the other side that says not for sale. It's my car, and we're going to drive it.
At the end of day one, there was only one detour in all of the reunion plans, but it was a scheduled detour, as Bakersfield's return road was instantly transformed into a scene right out of American Graffiti, and street rodders strolled down Famoso Raceway's main street, doing a little thing they call the Hot Rod Cruise. That's all the time we have for this week.